Alright. So yeah, last we left off with Umineko was the thing. What would you call that? The bit right here. It's question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. But that really doesn't roll off the tongue very well. To the tea party for those who are not human. The magic tea party, I guess? I don't know. Yeah, we went there, and Battler came back from the thoughtless dead, I guess with the help of Beatrice of some sort, and came upon the golden truth. Blew away Dillinor and her Noxus theory and such. Completely stomped in Erica's theory. And became the new game master and territory lord or some such of the game. Extremely, extremely, extremely confusing. Well, aren't all of the episodes that way? Anyway, we'll get right into it, I guess. Episode 6, Dawn of the Golden Witch. Good morning. Now the curtain shall finally rise on the game presented by that Battler-sama. Will Battler-sama manage to successfully and spectacularly fill the enormous role of Game Master? Let us bear witness to this fight from the opposite side of the chessboard. There is no longer a difficulty level. There is no longer a hint, but a confession. Alright. This story is very obviously fictional and fantastic in nature. Any resemblance to existing individuals, organizations, locations, or instances is entirely coincidental. Organ music. A beautiful glow shone from the skylight over the grand cathedral. The place was somehow different from the way it had been during the witch's trial. One sec. Minor setup issue. Alright. The decorations had changed. The several pleasantly sparkling white ribbons that adorned it were thin like razors, but they trailed beautifully in the air. Flowers were arranged all over in a way that would make any place look cheerful. It was like how a single drop of impure water can spoil an entire cask of wine. Just the presence of those flowers, those ribbons, and the red carpet that ran down the center of the room made it hard to believe that this was the same place Ushimiya Natsui had been falsely accused of a crime. It had truly become a wedding chapel. But love is generous, love is merciful. Love does not envy, it does not boast. These words, spoken by two demons who seemed to be in charge of this gathering, were part of a ceremony for making an oath of love before the eyes of God. Okay, what? Of course, in this wedding celebrated by demons, there was no priest in sight. Yeah, makes sense. Instead, there stood the witch who controls miracles. What are we doing here? In sickness and in health. Yeah, a wife's true job is to be supportive in times of sickness. Isn't that right, Erika? What is going on? Yes, my master. That looks good on you. What a fitting outfit for one who has conquered the bridegroom. I'm honored, my master. What is going on? The bride, standing on the carpeted path, was Furuta Erika. The groom's face couldn't be seen. The bride's outfit certainly was a pure white wedding dress. Her veil represented both the white of God's blessing and the white of a demon's cruelty. A great many goat nobles, witches, and demons were gathered for this wedding. If only their heads hadn't been those of goats, it would probably have seemed a very refined crowd worthy of this great cathedral. I'd expect no less of you, Byrne. The stuff you manage to think up is always so twisted. A wife supporting her ailing husband. Isn't that a lovely story? It suits you well, Erika. And congratulations to you too, Mr. Groom. At that point, Byrne. The groom didn't answer. His eyes were gray. His lips would mutter something from time to time, but no one could tell if the words meant anything. Hey, are you listening? Or, and trample it into the ground. The Witch of Miracles sneered with an evil smile that even a demon would shudder to look at. Even that sneer provoked no response from Battler's dim eyes. People live for the sake of love. Therefore, today you have fulfilled the purpose of your lives. Oh, how great is the power to live, the power of love. I pray that the brightness of this day blesses those two for all time. Just give it a rest already, you demons. What comes next? The couple will now make an oath of eternal love. After that, they will exchange rings. On Battler's hand was a ring bearing the seal of the one-winged eagle, proof that he was the territory lord of this world. And on Erika's finger was a diamond ring that could not be shattered by any miracle. Diamonds signify an eternal bond. However, in Greek, the word diamond simply means unbreakable. Erika wasn't vowing to love Battler forever. She just wanted to rule over him as her eternal property. This wedding was being performed for the sole purpose of defiling Battler. Don't worry, I won't love you forever. After all, the point of the ceremony is to make you submit to me. Your heart will be shut inside in an inescapable closed room forever, where I, Furudo Erika, the detective and the Witch of Truth, will command it. Your position as territory lord, and your ring will become mine. Can't get... What was that? Can't get out. This makes little sense. I'll bet you can't get out of that closed room. After all, you've made it yourself. You'll suffer in that room for all eternity. And I'll remain by your side as your wife forever, getting to enjoy that look of anguish on your face all by myself. I'll defile you forever. Ushiria Battler! Episode 6, everybody, I guess. Umineko no Nakukota ni Chiru. Nocturne of Truth and Illusion. Can't pronounce that one in Japanese. This is a different song. No way I'm singing along. I don't know the words. These witches be crazy, man. You know, there's that whole talk about Beatrice trying to get Battler to solve things. If she wanted to do that, what's the point of all this witchiness and all these red herrings? Umineko no Nakokoto ni Jiro, Nocturne of Truth and Illusions. It's just, what's the point of it all? We can figure out the how done it, I guess. And the whodunit is Beatrice, I guess. Well, apparently, maybe not. But the whydunit makes no sense. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. All that could be heard was the sound of the wind. A sound of misfortune, bringing sadness and unease to all who heard it. Slowly, I came back to my senses. I finally regained consciousness on top of a bed with a firm mattress. Where was this again? I can't remember where this is, but I can vaguely recall that I must not remain here. The room was dimly lit. There was a light on, but that just made the darkness and eeriness of the room more apparent. There were no curtains over the window, but it was all too dark outside to see anything beyond it. If I squinted into that pitch blackness, it felt as though I could see the witch of the forest peeking back at me from the darkness, and I averted my gaze from the window in fear. I can't see or hear it, but I get the feeling that if I leave this room, it'll be bright and warm, and someone else will be there for me. I want to get where everyone else is as soon as I can. Bad memories from when I was young begin to well up. Horrible, harsh memories of when I started dozing off during a family gathering and was put to sleep in some room I didn't know. I remember waking up there, incredibly lonely and sobbing. I must not remain in this room. I just want to get out of here quickly. Once that thought crossed my mind, I didn't want to stay in the room a second longer than I had to. I'm scared. It's creepy. Where is everyone? I want to get out of here right now. I opened the door, trying to leave the room. A pleasant glow snuck in through the crack of the door. As I'd thought, the corridor was filled with a comforting light. I couldn't actually hear them, but I could sense that far away people were enjoying themselves. I'm sure everyone's gathered in the room across from this one. I've been shut up in this lonely, creepy room, all alone. I should go, quickly. As soon as I thought this, a merciless metallic sound rang out, and the door refused to open any further. The chain had been set. I've always hated chain locks. You can open a normal lock just by twisting, but chain locks are built in an annoying way. I couldn't work them easily, so I've hated them ever since I was young. See? Even this chain is causing me trouble. I just can't get it undone. Why is this happening? I just want to leave this creepy room right away. Just on the other side of this thin door, everything is bathed in a warm light. I can't undo it. I just can't undo this chain. The more desperate I grew, the more that unsettling darkness seemed to be closing in on my back, and the more frightened I became. Then, I finally noticed. There's something wrong with this chain. Yes, there's a chain, but this isn't a chain lock. This is just a chain staked onto the door, preventing it from opening any further. In other words, it isn't made to be opened. But what the hell's going on? Who'd do something like this, damn it? No matter what I did, no matter how much I struggled, I couldn't pull out the stake or undo the chain or break the mechanism. This door was just a demon's mouth, made to trick me into thinking it would open before crushing my hopes. Even so, if only I could just open this door somehow, I could get out into that pleasant corridor. This desire forced me to keep my hand glued to the doorknob. But it was useless. Both the chain and the stake were firm, and no matter how much I clattered them about, there was no chance of the door opening any further. Even though I could see the pleasant hallway through the crack, I had no chance of opening the door any further. Maybe someone will come if I yell. Maybe the door can be opened easily from the outside. When I thought this, I tried to call out to someone, but I couldn't make the words come out. I could mouth, "Someone, come here," but no voice left my lips. What's going on? Someone, come. Why can't I cry out? Help me, help me, help me. The mere fact that I can't say help me out loud is even scarier. If I turn around, the witch gazing into the room from the darkness outside might be inside the room this time, standing right behind me. I'm frightened. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. Someone help me. Someone help me. I can't get out. Can't get out. Let me out of this room. Help me. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Help me. Help me. Help me. So this is your favorite episode, huh? It sounds like they've arrived, lady. Huh? Oh. Back to here. Okay. Amaxa ran his finger down my cheek. In an instant, I awoke from the doze I'd just been in. Alright. I glared at Amaxa for waking me up in such a creepy way, but he just pretended not to notice. Where is this? It feels like a parlor in some dignified person's house, but I have no memory of this place at all. Where is this? And why am I... You're still half asleep, lady? Yeah, sorry. Where are we? Huh? Apparently, he hadn't expected me to forget something like that just because I wasn't fully awake yet. For once, I agreed with him. Why am I in some parlor that I don't recognize? The sound of the footsteps from the they Amaxa had mentioned had come right up to the opposite side of the door. I could hear conversing voices. Is that a woman? Judging by the coffee and snacks laid in front of me, I was the guest here. In that case, I'd better remember why I came here, or at least who it was I came to visit. Who am I? Ushirmiya Angie. Who's the man standing behind me? Amakusa Juza, the man who used to be my guard long ago. He's now the bodyguard Okunogi assigned to me. In that case, is this after Antiva's death? When I've thrown off my pursuers? On that journey to find out what happened 12 years ago? Is that how it went? Do I really have a memory like this? After a knock, the door opened, and the person I must have come here to meet entered along with an assistant. Oh, wonderful. Even after seeing her face, I can't remember who she is. Our sincere apologies for keeping you waiting. Hachijo Toya is here. That's a relief. The assistant introduced her to me first, and I finally remembered who she was. She? I thought it was a he. Excuse me, but are you... That's right. I am Hachijo Toya desu. Hachijo Toya. The magazines were all talking about your book signing event. Supposedly, a mysterious male author showed up wearing sunglasses and a mask. Never thought you'd be a woman. What's the deal? That was just a double arranged by the editing department. I was the helper standing behind him at the book signing. Now there's a shock. I haven't read your works, but I'll bet you're even more mysterious than your books. Readers only pretend to read books. They read them based merely on the name of the author and the brand and think that they've actually read them. No matter what I write in my books, they don't truly read anything. Part of that's kind of true. Something that bugs me, especially for books. You have all these books lined up all over the shelf, and the biggest thing on the front is the author's name. Okay, what's the book called? And it's a little small one underneath their name. It bugs the hell out of me. It's like, what's the name of the book? Not who the hell are you? They just pretend to read so they can look smart and knowledgeable and keep up with the current fad. This is definitely not the current fad. Why on earth should I expose myself to these people? Why indulge such trash? I see. Looks like you're Madame Hachijo, alright. Hey, she's wearing the ring. This person really is eccentric. There's no doubt about it. This is Hachijo Toya herself. Hachijo Toya is a mystery novelist who's become the center of discussion lately. It seems her books themselves have been highly praised, but it's her mysterious debut that's attracted so much attention towards her lately. Last year, she managed to win several different awards for exceptional mystery novels offered by multiple large publishing companies, submitting each of her works under a different pen name. And after that, several highly regarded anonymous works were discovered, one after another, to have been stories she had written in the past under false names. And her popularity soared as she herself became more mysterious than her books. Despite all of this, the author herself never appeared in public, and everything about her was wrapped in a veil of secrecy. However, just a few days ago, this author finally made a public appearance for a book signing, showing up with a mask that covered his face and drawing even more public attention. And yet, apparently even that had been a fake. Given this person's radically unconventional track record, it was hardly a surprise to hear her casually insult her fans like this. I know quite a lot about you too, Ushumiya Anji-san. The talk shows have been saying all sorts of things. I'm sure you've heard nothing good. Yes? Nothing good at all. Apparently, you employ and fire people based on a whim. Try to resolve everything with money, and care nothing for the law as long as you get your way. Yep, sounds about right. However, I happen to like intelligent people like you. Is that why you agreed to meet with me? Exactly. You're the only person who's managed to spot that Itoikuru Reigonami is another pen name used by me, Hachijo Toya. That's actually quite impressive. Itoikuro Reigonamaru. It was a pretty strange pen name. However, if you match the Japanese syllables to numbers, you can read it as... Numbers again? 1101996056. 11,19,960,576. This massive number is equal to 18 to the 8th power. 18 to the 8th. In Japanese, Toya no Hachijo. Or in other words, Hachijo Toya. Very well done. I was quite impressed. In fact, I was so impressed, I decided to let you meet me in person. Welcome to my mansion, child of man. Now, stuff like that would be pretty definitively stuck in conspiracy theory. If you add 3 to this number, it becomes 5. And 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. 2.5 is half the length of... The further along you get with that, the more abstract you can get anything. Her manner of speaking was extremely condescending. But, perhaps, because of her elegant manner, it didn't feel particularly irritating. This person had a sort of majestic grandeur about her, which made that style of speech seem almost natural. At least, that's how it felt to me. In fact, it felt almost as though this was the manifestation of some noble being. Alright. Hello? Some noble being who would have no need to show herself before mere humans under normal circumstances. Since I'm not particularly a fan of hers, I guess this is proof that her mysterious charisma really is nothing to be laughed at. However, I didn't come here to talk to Hachijo Toya, the mystery novelist. I'm interested in Itoikuru Reigonomaru Namu, the mysterious web author who only released her works over the internet. In the Japanese parts of the internet, she is an extremely famous witch hunter. However, she isn't a big opinion leader like Professor Utsuki. She's one of those message bottle forgers who are always the center of vigorous debate. Message bottle forgers are, as the name suggests, people who forge and post the contents of what purport to be mysterious message bottles detailing the events of the Rokkenjima incident. They claim to have discovered a new message bottle, and post either a very similar counterfeit story or a new theory with their own interpretation of the truth, all of which are supposedly written by Ushimiya Maria. In so doing, they openly take on the name Ushimiya Maria, writing up new bizarre tales as if they had been present themselves and knew the truth. They then send these stories out into the newest sea discovered by humankind, the internet, claiming that it's a 3rd or 4th message bottle. All of the first forgers were either simple pranksters or crooks trying to swindle collectors. Eventually, though, people who claimed to have solved the riddles of the message bottle tales and reached the truth started to appear, and they started creating original works of their own, 3rd and 4th message bottles from Ushimiya Maria, as though they had moved over to the riddle teller's side. These people rewrote the tale of the witch with whatever interpretations they wanted, and every once in a while, parts of their theories would gain big followings on the net. Some of these creations grew to be so widely trusted that they were believed to contain some grain of truth. The more rigid witch hunters openly despised these people, calling them forgers, counterfeiters, or just witches. Though they claimed to have reached the truth, they refused to tell anyone and created fake message bottles as though testing everyone else. It was no surprise that more straight-laced witch hunters were seriously annoyed by these forgers. However, among those who simply liked to entertain themselves with the occult fantasy of Rakunjima, an extremely small number accepted these creations as literary works, glad of these additions to the mysterious tale. Itoi Kukuro was the most highly regarded of these forgers. End of the Golden Witch. I've read that one. Well, that's one hell of a hobby you've got there. Killing off other people's families however you like. Did you come all the way here just to say that? I think not. Final descendant of the Ushirmiya family. In her latest forgery, End, she killed off 7 members of my family, at least during the actual story. No, if you count Alliance and Banquet, the other forgeries she's made before now, then she's killed off most of my family in horrible ways, over and over again. Of course I want to complain. However, all of her works are known for being, in both form and level of perfection, the closest tale to those written by Ushirmiya Maria herself. In particular, Itoi Kukuro's first forgery, Banquet of the Golden Witch, managed to fit everything, including Ushirmiya Eva's escape to Kuadorian. People wondered whether this might be the true story of Rakunjima, and it even made it onto the talk shows. So far, all these tales have been nothing more than electronic text on the web. However, people will eventually realize that Itoi Kukuro is actually Hachijo Toya. When that happens, they'll become the works of that bizarre Hachijo, and no one will think of them as mere fan creations. People will probably start wondering if this might actually be a third message bottle she found and released under the guise of a story she wrote herself. When that happens, these stories will probably seem even more bizarre and credible. You're pretty cunning, aren't you? Why do you say that? You're doing this to make your forgery seem more mysterious and more credible. And what do you mean by credible? Once you've gained credibility, your forgeries will rise to the level of truth. Rise to the level of truth? How foolish. Such a thing is unnecessary for my works. Are you saying that because your works are truth and not mere forgeries? Correct? They are truth, so there's no need for them to rise into anything. You aren't Maria One-chan, and you definitely weren't on Rakunjima on that day. So how can you be so absurd as to call this the truth? Hey, don't lose your cool, lady. Shut up. What makes you think I'm losing my cool? Angie half realized that she'd let her emotions get the better of her. She let out a sigh and shrugged. Your reason for coming here. It wasn't to yell at me for killing your family several times within my forgeries, correct? Hachijo had been smiling at Angie kindly, but in a condescending manner. Or else, like a mother might watch over a very small child. Angie realized this and was unable to suppress her irritation. Apparently, Amakusa could tell that Angie was getting worked up. He joked around with her for a bit so that they could start the conversation over again from the beginning. The thing you came here to hear. It's the truth that I've reached, is it not? Why are you so sure you've reached the truth? Because I've understood all of the tales. And I'm asking you why you're so sure about that. Do you think the sun ever revolves around the earth? Hachijo suddenly started talking about the Ptolemaic theory. Angie was about to tell her not to answer questions with more questions, but she quickly realized what Hachijo meant. Humans used to support the Ptolemaic theory. However, that theory has been rejected in the modern age. Does this mean that, at the instant that theory was rejected, the sun stopped moving and the earth started revolving around the sun? Of course not. The truth doesn't change based on what humans believe. Then right now, your denial of my truth means exactly the same thing. The idea of heliocentrism was proposed by several scholars before Galileo. However, it was hard to objectively prove that theory using the scientific techniques available at the time. Even so, that didn't change what the truth was. And yet it moves. So, you're saying the truth is still the truth, whether you can prove it or not. Correct. In the future, when the full truth finally becomes known, people will look back and realize that I had already discovered it. Apparently, Angie just couldn't stand Hachigo's attitude. She kept getting irritated, and every time Amakusa would joke around until she settled down again. However, there could be no mistake that Hachijo was a genius, and had used her extraordinary intuition to form a most interesting outlook on the events that occurred on that island. That was why Angie had wanted to contact Itoi Kukuro and hear her views. Still, this meeting truly had been fortunate for Angie. She hadn't been absolutely sure that Itoi Kukuro was Hachijo Toya. She hadn't thought that the publishing company would really contact the author. And moreover, she hadn't dreamed that the mysterious masked author would grant her an interview under such short notice. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that the sum of the events leading to this meeting made for nothing short of a miracle. Yes, a miracle. After all, in almost all cases, I'd never be contacted by the publishing company, then leave for Najima the next day. I'd leave for Najima, then go on to Rakanjima. And then give One-chan a Sakutaro stuffed animal. Huh? Why a Sakutaro stuffed animal? My memory of the future is all muddled. My head hurts. Hachijo said something about showing Angie something good, rose from the sofa, and headed for the study desk. When she turned her back, Amakusa asked Angie, who seemed to be troubled by something, if she was okay. Hey, Amakusa, how long have I been here? What? You've been looking weird for a while now. What's going on? I can't remember how long I've been sitting here. Are you still half asleep? That's not it. I mean, I was able to get an appointment with Professor Utsuki, but the publishing company never got back to me about Itoi Kukuro. So in the end, I was stuck, unable to do anything that entire day, right? Huh? Amakusa, you went to go get that large black bag, didn't you? That's right. Just before we left for Najima, Amakusa and I parted ways just one time. He said something about getting a weapon from an acquaintance of his, and he went to go get that large black bag. Wasn't that today? What am I talking about? I mean, didn't I go to Najima, meet Captain Kawabata, and inside the bed shop... Huh? What? Something wrong. Did my confusion and uncertainty make me sigh out loud? Even though Hachijo's back was to me, She slowly turned around and smiled as though she had peered into my heart. No, it's nothing. Strange memories, ones that even I can't understand. I tried to hide my confusion, but for some reason Hachijo had a strange glint in her eyes, as though she could read my mind. I have revived and killed your family several times within various forgeries, almost like a witch might, reviving and killing them whenever you like, endlessly. Sounds almost like Beatrice, doesn't it? Yes, it does. So, please follow the lead of all those people on the web, and consider the possibility that I might be a witch. She took a thickly packed brown envelope out of a locked drawer. It appeared to be filled to the brim with printer paper. Perhaps this was a manuscript for one of her works. The neat letters written with a fountain pen on the envelope spelled out the word Dawn. There was no forgery by the name of Dawn, which must mean, and you could tell, this was a new one. Hachijo's newest unreleased forgery. Dawn of the Golden Witch. For one such as I, who knows everything, everything is boring. However, I don't dislike letting the ignorant read my works to see what kind of reactions they have. And so, I want you to read it. You want me to read your newest work, which you've created as the new Endless Witch? Correct, child of man. Correct, child of man. Whether you resent it or admire it, you can help me forget my illness for a time. Let's put an end to this farce, shall we? Who are you? I don't remember ever meeting you like this. Yes, I did try to contact Hachijo Toya, but in the end I never got a chance to meet her. In other words, all of this is a falsehood. Whose piece am I this time? Sorry, but if you think you can tame Ushimi Angie so easily, you're making a big mistake. Yes. I hoped you'd be this interesting. She finally couldn't hold it back and burst out laughing. Gradually, the space around them seemed to be filled with a strange purple mist. The room itself seemed to twist and bend. Her figure also twisted, and after something that couldn't be described elapsed, her form changed to become just what she had called herself, a witch. Splendid. Nope. Splendid. You did well to see through my veil. It seems I'm the type witches just love to cling to. You all have that same condescending tone towards humans. I figured you were rich right away. The novelist sitting on the sofa was nowhere to be seen. Even Anji's bodyguard, who was supposed to be around at times like this, was gone. There was only a non-human figure relaxing in a large, ornate rocking chair. I find you truly intriguing, child of man. Your charming nature is the perfect medicine for my boredom. Yeah, well, I don't see anything charming about this. Why am I alive? Wasn't I killed in a pretty nasty way for breaking the rule about revealing my name? To be honest, I did doubt that those people would just let me go so easily. What kind of farce will I be forced to go along with this time? I really don't care. I'll just do whatever I can within the bounds of the role they give me. Whatever I can to help Oni-chan. Of course, I understand. Even if he wins, he'll never come back to me. Even so, I'll struggle on. I'll make sure Oni-chan comes back to the me of that day. No need to lose your temper. I am not asking you to be at peace. Then why did you summon me here? Don't tell me you want me to read this new story or whatever it is you've written. That's it exactly. I do not want you to be my peace. I have always been a mere observer, and I have no intention of sticking my neck into their game. I don't get it. What is it you want from me? Be an observer for me. An observer of the fragments Beatrice has woven. An observer? I don't really get it, but no deal. In the past, I observed the fragments through Battler's eyes. However, now that he has succeeded the position of Game Master, he is not a suitable observer. I am following this tale with true and earnest intentions. It would be such a waste to observe it through the eyes of Battler as he is now, like reading a detective novel backwards. Oni-chan is the Game Master? What on earth are you talking about? You must have no clue what it's all about. You want to know, don't you? I want to know too. What kind of tale will Battler weave now that he has taken the position of Game Master? Furthermore, I wish to search for the truth Battler reached as part of my own mental journey. My illness affects me gravely. If I do not think, I cannot even keep my heart beating. So, you want me to read your new picture book aloud to you? You might as well interpret it that way. In exchange, you will also be able to take part in your own journey of the mind. I do believe that even you have yet to reach the truth. I think you want to continue on the journey to find that truth. I don't owe you anything. Do not push your luck. I can be lenient at times, but such cases are rare. Angie hadn't yet reached the truth either, though she knew that the game was little more than a toy for the amusement of those witches. She wanted it to resume, so that she could follow the tale and close in on the king called Truth. I might explore the tale to find the truth for myself, but I have no obligation to read it aloud until the end for your sake. Understand? Angie was willing to read the story aloud, but she could quit at any time if this witch made her mad. She was, in effect, warning the witch not to annoy her. Of course. You call it a picture book, but to me, it is the only medicine for a fatal illness. I cannot take that medicine without you to assist me. In other words, it's a mutually beneficial arrangement. So, you're telling me to read your book until you fall asleep, and in exchange, you'll let me read it too. Is that right? Precisely. If you are willing to accept, I shall ask that you become my reader for a time. Well, it's nice to get my own title, but all you really want me to do is read books, right? Becoming my reader means the same as becoming my familiar. In other words, what is done against you will be done against me. I will not permit anyone to disrupt my only interest, that being to read the rest of Beatrice's tale. I will not let Burncastle, Lambda Delta, or even Beatrice force anything upon you. This witch, who seemed to have an almost divine quality to her, spoke both quietly and forcefully. There was no threat in her words. However, even so, it was clear that she was on a different level than Burncastle and the other witches, and not at all to be taken lightly. So, you'll offer me protection if I agree to read your book? Of course. What I want is for you to read aloud to me. I will not spare any who attempt to stand in the way of that. If my attitude seems arrogant to you, allow me to apologize, child of man. It may not seem so, but I am speaking to you with the utmost respect. Yeah, probably. Even that witch-like style of speech feels like it's got to be the most respectful thing you said in the last few hundred years. When you're reading a book, do you tell it, "Thank you very much," before flipping through the pages? I guess it is like that. I understand. Just by agreeing to have a conversation with Angie, she was showing an incredible amount of respect and willingness to compromise. Angie shrugged, but she also nodded to show her consent. Sure. I'll be your reader. I get that you showed a ton of respect just by asking for my consent first. You understand well, child of man. My name's Angie, not child of man, or whatever. Very well. As proof of my respect for you, I will acknowledge your name. That's kind of a backhanded compliment. For her, acknowledging human names was like acknowledging the names of all the leaves scattered across the ground. So, her acknowledging Angie's name was a miracle. No, it was immensely good fortune. From this point forth, Ushimiya Angie will serve as reader, and Miko to the Witch of Theater-going, Feather and Augustus Aurora. And Miko to the Witch of Theater-going, Feather and Augustus Aurora. Until you finish reading, I shall bring calamity to all who attempt to hinder your task. When the Witch of Theater-going, Featherin, spoke this, Angie was wrapped in a bright light. Angie didn't feel any particular change herself, but she definitely had been given something that only non-humans could sense. It signified that from this point forward, Angie would be the Witch of Theater-going subject. That didn't mean that Angie would gain some sort of special power, but at the very least it probably meant that anyone wanting to cause her harm would first have to take on Feathering herself. Your name is pretty long. Sounds like some Roman person from the history books. What should I call you? Those not familiar with me, call me Augustus Aurora. After all the respect you've shown me, it's only fitting that I respond in kind. I'll call you Featherin. Any problems? None at all? For an ailing witch such as myself, even being called by my first name will be an experience to be treasured and pondered over, child of man. I have a name. It's Angie. Even conversations like this are pleasant every once in a while. Angie, my Miko. Angie accepted her role. She would observe the story with the Witch of Theater-going. The curtain was rising on the sixth tale. Umineko no Naku Koro Nichiro, Nocturne of Truth and Illusions. I'll check out the character profiles once it goes to the next chapter or whatever. And came up with an idea, and it involves the bunnies and Beatrice and Battler. Maybe it's everybody that starts with a B. I don't know. Alright, we've got 3 people. What is with that outfit? That's not Roman. Like that's like a kimono top with a Western style bottom dress, but she's Roman, so she's weird. Fethrin Augustus Aurora, the majestic witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating. She is tired of life after 1,000 years and constantly repeats the cycle of life and death. In the past, she served as the master for several games as a legendary witch, but her legend, glory, and memory have already disappeared into the past and have been forgotten. Only the solemn medal she wears on her chest contains those memories. The horseshoe-shaped object floating around her head is a memory aid device. It records her name, appearance, and other aspects of her personality. She is so old that she would not be able to preserve her own individuality without this. Ushiromiya Angie, the final descendant of the Ushiromiya family, 12 years in the future. During her journey to reach Rakujima while evading pursuers from the Sumadera family, she becomes overwhelmed by a word of an impossible memory. She reached several truths in the previous games and possesses the power to act as an observer. It seems that witches who hope for the worst for her are great in number, as are those who wish to become her master. Amakusa Juza, a former guard of Eva's. He's fundamentally a thrill-seeker, willing to take on dangerous jobs for very little pay. At one point, he did work as a guard for Angie, but after repeatedly violating Eva's strict orders not to speak to her, Eva grew to dislike him and fired him. Angie seemed not to mind having him around, as he would often chat with her. This man, who has traveled between the Japan Self-Defense Force, the Foreign Legion, and non-government military companies, has skill in counter-sniping and protecting VIPs. Alright. Alright. People. Alright, that's next. We have another back. Looks like. Alright. And Kinzo is automatically dead. The aged head of the Ushimik family, he is already dead, but thanks to Kraus and Natsuhi's closed room illusion, is being made to look as though he is alive. Oh, okay. Therefore, there is no longer any need to include him in the number of people on the island. Without him, the number of people goes from 18 to 17. However, after welcoming in the guest known as Erica, the number returns to 18. Is Erica still here? Hey. Updated and added. Alright. Vergilia. Alright. Now retired endless witch and Beatrice's teacher, she used to endless magic properly and devoted her life to the smiles and happiness of many people. She taught Beatrice the endless magic, believing that Beatrice would also devote herself to the people, and retired. Though she was Beatrice's teacher, she was also a magician employed by Beatrice's family. For that reason, she interacted with Beatrice in a manner fitting for a servant. Some point to this as the source of Beatrice's arrogance and recklessness. The goats. Battler has a cape now. Battler. And it's all capitals. The Endless Sorcerer and the Final Game Master. The Final. He is the ruler of the game board and the territory lord. To prove that he has won Beato's game, he must act the part of the Game Master. By succeeding in this, his victory will be acknowledged, and Beato's game will reach its end. Because he knows all the truth, the plane on which he exists is higher than those of all others. Alrighty then. Glasses. Member of Eingene den Frau, Dillinor of the Ten Wedges, or Death Sentence Dillinor. The name Death Sentence comes from the fact that though Inquisitors of Heresy normally judge their targets to see whether they deserve the death penalty or not, Head Inquisitor Dillinor is only dispatched after a case has been vigorously inspected by the Great Court. Therefore, the very act of dispatching her is equivalent to a sentence of death. Her father was the legendary Inquisitor of Heresy, but he broke the rules and was executed. She was the one who performed his interrogation and execution. Since that time, she has stopped growing. Both her body and mind remain eternally those of a young maiden. It is whispered that her heart also died at that moment, but she does not see it that way. Primary weapons are the red key and the blue key, which take the form of long and short sword. So, she was wearing glasses, though. I saw her with glasses. I know I did. Anyway, that's Gertrude, Cornelia, and Dem. Wait, they're all bumped into one group now? Alright. Too many to keep track of, too many to read in just one sitting, so I'm gonna pop back over to the game. Alright, so yeah, it's lots of other profiles have been updated and added, and yeah, I imagine so, but there's a lot of them. At one time, only Beato and her fellow witches had gathered in the smoking room to chat. Now, however, an unusually large number of people were present. Lambda, Erica, and Byrne. Alright, alright. Pushy, pushy. Lambda, Erica, and Byrne. Lambda Delta. Because the end of the game has now been ensured by the victory of the human side, she no longer stands in opposition to anyone. As a previous game master, she also knows the truth and has taken a position of non-interference. Now, she is simply acting as an observer and enjoying the way her beloved Byrne's face contorts itself. Lambda, Erica, and Byrne. Furudo Erica, the Witch of Truth, provisional, is also the detective and one who calls herself an intellectual rapist. She participated in Battler's game as a player for the human side. She possesses several skills that qualify her to call herself a detective. These can be acknowledged by Burncastle and elevated to the level of Red Truth. Whether she wins or loses, this will be the last game, and there will be no further use of her. Alright. With the victory of the human side, she would have won as well, but she doesn't seem to be satisfied. It appears that she is less concerned with who actually wins and cares more about how brutal an end might be reached. This is why she's hostile towards Battler as he tries to end this peacefully, and why she's trying to use Erica to ruin this final game. Oh joy. That's gonna be a joy. Alright. And this is this is your favorite episode. At one time, only Beato and her fellow witches had gathered in the smoking room to chat. Now, however, an unusually large number of people were present. I wonder what kind of game Battler's gonna show us. I don't care what it is, as long as it's fun enough to relieve my boredom as I crush it. Leave everything to me, my master. I will perform to my fullest and give you the results you desire. Yeah, you'd better. I kept making strange faces all last game, thanks to you. I hope I don't start getting wrinkles from all that. There's no need to worry. The beauty of my master's face is without peer, no matter how wrinkly it may get. Wrong thing. You're pretty dumb for a detective. It's rare to see Byrne in such high spirits. Beato's game board really is something else. I love how her intro thing is just the shotgun. How sad it is that the masters of this game board is no longer with us. A tiger dies and leaves behind its hide. Looks like Beato died and left behind her game. And apparently a coat. Even though chess still exists, no one knows the name of the person who invented it. Oh, you're right. Poor game inventors. Come to think of it, Battler-san really has kept us waiting, hasn't he? Is he still setting up the 6th game? Gertrude, how have Lord Battler's preparations progressed? Please, allow me to speak. Know that he will be finished very soon. If he's kept us waiting this long, he must be pretty confident in his plan. He really humiliated me in front of my master last time. I'll defeat him no matter what it takes. And you in particular. Make sure you don't screw up again. I will meet the challenge with all of my strength. The previous game master, Lambda Delta, had confirmed that Battler understood everything about Beato's game. However, in order to prove it, Battler would have to run this game by himself and carry it through to completion. In other words, if Erica could crush this game of Battler's, she would, in effect, wipe away the dishonor of that last game. Though Erica was chomping at the bit to get started, it was taking Battler quite some time to show himself. At that time, a swarm of gold butterflies popped into existence and took human form. From the shape of that familiar dress, everyone immediately realized who it was. Hello. Ah, oh, it's Beatrice-san. And I thought you died and disappeared last time. The one who died last time was Beatrice, the player. This is probably just a piece. Battler's piece. Even if she is a piece, it does not change the fact that it is her. Kind of. Beatrice gave an elegant curtsy as she appeared. This humble entrance was so vastly different from her usual high-pitched laugh that it made the long-awaited start of the sixth game feel even more ominous than it otherwise would have. The father will be here very soon. I ask that you wait for just a short while longer. Father? The heck? Is that the new spin this time? Not only had Beato started talking in an unusually polite manner, she had also used the word father, presumably referring to Battler. For an instant, everyone was stunned into silence, but they quickly realized that this was setting up some kind of theme, and they grinned. Beato wasn't the type who could keep up this act for long. It would probably fall apart in a few seconds, leaving her cackling rudely at everyone. Erica, who was itching for a fight, went for Beato almost at once. I can't believe that incompetent Battler-san reached the truth of your game. I'm sure Father understands it quite deeply. He really is good at that sort of thing. Just complete indifference. Still, you're pretty lucky. If Battler hadn't become the game master, you wouldn't have revived again. You've really got the luck of the devil, don't you? The luck of the devil? Well, either way, I'm going to pay you back in full for last time. You're just one of Battler's delusions, so I'll erase every part of you and knock you down into the abyss of oblivion. I too cannot allow you to use such an easy victory. I look forward to having a good, clean fight. By this point, everyone realized that something weird was going on. There was no doubt that the face, the dress, and the hair were all Beatrice's. However, her expression was different. Even though she had Beato's face, Beato would never show anyone an expression like that. Who are you? There was a heavy silence. Lambda Delta spoke for everyone there. At first, Beato had worn a smiling yet blank expression. However, when she realized that the mood had gone suddenly stiff, her expression finally darkened and she hung her head. Who are you? You appear to be Lady Beatrice, but are you not? Even Dillinor was forced to ask, despite the rudeness of the question. That was how much this woman, who appeared to be Beato, was not. Am I somehow different from the Beatrice everyone was expecting? What are you talking about? Wait a second. Don't tell me you have amnesia or something. I was only born recently, so I have no memories at all. However, I will study hard in order to become the Beatrice you all expect. Beato, I thought I told you to stay in your room. Battler's voice came out of nowhere. His tone was very slightly cold. Beato's expression looked like that of a young girl being scolded. With a swirl of gold butterflies, Battler appeared. His dignified bearing and appearance were fitting for the ruler of this game. However, his expression was gloomy, and his gaze was directed at Beato. Go back to your room. You aren't supposed to be here. I just wanted to help you however I could, Father. Go to your room. He spoke both softly and forcefully. Battler didn't leave any room for debate. Beato hung her head and curtsied as she prepared to leave the room. Also, yes? What is it, Father? My name is Battler. Never call me by a different name again. Yes. Beato melted into a cloud of gold butterflies and disappeared. This was the first part of the tale with Battler as the game master. The witches had all assumed that he'd come forward with some flashy big developments, so this was all completely unexpected to them. Their mouths were still hanging open. This is a pretty weird take on it. Pardon me. Please forget what you saw just now. You're playing dumb. But this is all just part of your plan, isn't it? You're scheming to give us the wrong impression, like another North Wind and the Sun strategy, aren't you? Is there something wrong? Don't worry about it. It has nothing to do with you people. I see. Guess it doesn't matter then. Okay, Battler, start up the new game right away. You've kept us waiting so long, it's gotten totally boring. Sure. Let's start the 6th game. Erika, and you too, Burncastle. This will be my tale, proof that I've reached Beatrice's truth. Lambda Delta. Please watch this game until the end, as a former game master. Sure, looking forward to it. What's the title? Dawn. As in the dawn of the Golden Witch. Sure, if we're talking about a winter sun that goes below the horizon right away. Of course, my master. I'll drag it back down for you. At least your naming sense is good, Battler-san. I'll give you that much. I'm glad you like it. Then let's get started. The 6th game will now begin. Battler solemnly announced the start of the game. Compared to his fired-up attitude at the end of the previous game, where he and Erika had sworn to settle everything next time, he was extremely quiet now. Angie. Beato seems to have changed a lot since we last saw her. I'm surprised too. I don't have a clue what's going on. I don't even get why Beto's alive in the first place. I just finished reading it a second ago, but at the end of the previous tale, didn't she die just before Battler reached the truth? There are two kinds of deaths in this world. One of them is when a piece is taken from the game board. Such a death exists only within the bounds of the game, and these lives can be revived over and over again each time a new game begins. That's why the witches are so merciless when it comes to taking those lives. To the witch players, the lives of those characters who appear on the game board are no different from pieces on a chessboard that take other pieces and get taken. After all, these pieces will be set up again when the next game starts. Maria Sakutaro is a prime example of these. Sakutaro is One-chan's piece? Yes, that makes sense. In the game board that represents the inside of One-chan's head, Sakutaro certainly does exist, and is a piece that always stays by her side, though he's nothing more than a stuffed animal in the real world. On One-chan's game board, he's no less of a piece than any other. But I wonder, if he were a piece in a witch's game, it should be possible to revive him easily, right? But One-chan wasn't able to revive Sakutaro in her world. That's because she lost that completely unique stuffed animal that was his vessel. Because of this, the conditions for that piece's existence were violated, and it became impossible to revive him on Maria's game board. The only reason you were able to revive Sakutaro on the game board was because you once again satisfied the conditions for his existence, correct? Alright, sorry you couldn't stay the whole time, but see you later, man. Thanks for hopping in. True. Maria One-chan was only unable to revive him because she had lost a stuffed animal that was his vessel. If, like the rest of my family on Beato's game board, she hadn't needed a vessel for him, she would have been able to revive him as often as she wanted. I get it. It makes sense that Sakutaro was One-chan's piece. At least, as long as his vessel was okay, he could have been revived over and over again. Correct? As long as his vessel is safe, he can be revived over and over again. That's what the life of a piece is like. That's the first kind of death in this world. What's the second? That's the deaths of beings outside the game board. To continue with Sakutaro example, this would be like Maria's death. You mean, not her death as a piece, but the death of the real One-chan, right? Not necessarily. Loss of interest or concern would have the same effect. When Maria outgrows playing with stuffed animals, Maria, the game player, will die. It's as quick and easy as turning off the switch on a TV when you get bored of it. I see. In that case, Beato, the player, completely gave up on winning during the last game. So she died and vanished. Which means, if Beato ever comes back, thinking she's got a chance of defeating One-chan, that'll mean she's come back to life, right? Logically, that is true. It's the same for humans, witches, and even gods. If they lose interest and concern, they can die at any time. And if they regain that interest, they can revive at any time. However, though the concept of time does not exist in the world of gods, and they can revive whenever they want, time shoots by like an arrow in the human world, and it isn't so easy there. That's true. Skipping school for one day might not be a problem, but if you skip for 3 days in a row, it'd be really hard to convince yourself to go back. And what if that stretched out for a month, a year, a decade, or 1,000 years, like the world of witches? I see. If you skip class for that long, it'd mean your death, socially. After being dead that long, not only would you be unable to catch up on all you missed in the world at large, You'd also lose any motivation you might have had when you left. So, even though you'd be alive, it'd be fair to say that you died once. You would never again be able to regain the self that you once were. It would never come back to life. Beato lost any chance or hope of winning. Even though she knew this, she pretended not to and kept on fighting for many, many games. So, Beato will not return. Her hopes were crushed. She spent all of the willpower that she might have used to regain the will to fight. Therefore, that Beatrice will never revive again. That Beato, who just sat around the whole time with empty eyes in the 5th game, must have been her corpse. She managed to remain on the game board despite it all, but then even that corpse was wiped away. If Beato had been the game master at that time instead of Lambda Delta, the game board itself would have vanished at that moment, and everything would have ended. Come to think of it, Beato started to lose the will to fight back near the end of the 4th game. When Beato loses her will to fight, the world of this game disappears. However, the witches wanted to keep playing in this game board world, so Lambda Delta bound Beato in place with that cursed shackle. She used that shackle to fix the game board in place and prevent it from disappearing, even if Beato did lose the will to fight. In chess, this would be the equivalent of removing the set time limit for each turn, making it endless. However, simply having the game endlessly pause on Beato's turn would cause the witches to die from their illness of boredom. That's why Lambda Delta took the position of Game Master. Starting then, Beato's existence was no longer one of the conditions necessary for the game's existence. That's probably why the shackles binding her to the game board were released. And that explains why she disappeared in the 5th game. So, when Oni-chan managed to reach the truth, it was one game too late for him to tell Beato about it. The 5th game was a form of charity on Lambda Delta's part. She merely showed Balor some mercy as the Witch of Certainty, acknowledging his strong desire to reach the truth no matter what. How can you call that charity? It's just those fickle witches killing time. Let's get back to the point. So, that means this weird Beato isn't the player Beato. She's just a piece Beato. True. If that is the case, she should eventually become the Beato everyone knows. I imagine that is the Beato that Battler wants. You mean, he wasn't satisfied with just a doll? When playing with dolls, one can project the personality they most desire onto the doll. However, since you are acting out their part, nothing unexpected can ever happen. You cannot hope for any unanticipated happiness. In the human world, there's nothing so boring as pre-established harmony. That's why, though a doll can become a person's best friend in the world, people eventually get bored and outgrow them. Oni-chan only wants the real Beato. He couldn't bear having a doll that only acted like Beato. A Beato born as Battler's piece would probably move according to Battler's wishes. That's only natural for a piece. Pieces move however their players tell them to, and they can't do anything else. I see what it is Oni-chan wants. So what's up with this weird Beato? Battler might be trying to revive Beato in the truest sense. That is the never-dying dream held by children of man. You just used a red to say that wasn't possible. That Beato will never revive. However, that doesn't mean that it is impossible for Beato to be born again. Have you forgotten? I believe that Burncastle herself revealed Beato's true form at the end of the first game. Now I remember. She said something about how Beato exists as the incarnation of a rule. Information began to be accumulated based around that rule, and in the end, it took the form of the witch known as Beatrice. If that pattern is followed once more, the same Beatrice will be born again, and perhaps one could call that a resurrection. In other words, that weird Beato is Beato as an egg, or maybe a chick. Well, she is a chick. That interpretation is probably accurate. In short, this Beato is the chick who might grow to become that Beato. And that means this pure and lovable kid will eventually grow into that screwed up, crazy witch. In other words, that Beato is a baby version of the Beato we all know. So, just like how no person is born evil, the newborn Beato isn't evil either. Even though she really is a different person, if you measure her by her root, or perhaps her soul, then maybe you really could call this a resurrection. However, this really can't possibly be easy to accept. Though she may technically be Beato herself, she is also, without a doubt, a different person, and that way she acts would make anyone feel as though something's out of place. Oh, entertaining. Hearing you read aloud is far from boring. Thank you. I doubt you even really need someone to read aloud for you. It looks like you already know everything. I only reached that thought because I'm engaged in a conversation with you. My thoughts are more numerous than the stars in the sky. I only appear to know everything to a child of man like you. However, without you here, I am nothing but a weak, sickly person without even the power to think. If you just said that in the first place, I would have agreed to read for you a lot more easily. My mood just happened to improve. Don't get an overswelled impression of yourself. Your life means less to me than a leaf one has lost after using it as a bookmark. Please keep reading already. Is that pretty much what you're trying to say? Okay. Far from boring. You really do make an excellent Miko. Featherin rocked back in her rocking chair and looked up at the ceiling, laughing as though the conversation itself was pleasant for her, and she was slowly figuring out how to deal with this strange witch. This person was also bored. It's not uncommon for a sick person who's bored from feeling bedridden for a long time to start acting rebellious. On the other hand, they can also get a little bored of being treated kindly all the time. She may want to be shown respect for her superiority, but it's probably more interesting for her when she's spoken to rudely. What a coincidence. That's exactly how I used to be. Anyway, from what we learned in the fourth game, there's no doubt that there's been some kind of antagonism between Beato and Oni-chan in the past. Learning about this Beato might give us the key to finding the truth. It does seem so. It has caught my interest as well. Let's read her tale too. Oh, sure. As you wish, my master. When Angie raised her hands like a conductor, the bookshelves in this bizarre study responded. Once again, several books floated out and began to swirl about Angie. Kinzo's study is the room belonging to the master in the human world. So the study in the world of non-humans belonged to the master of the game board, and was a place where he could look down upon the humans. Therefore, one could hardly be blamed for mistaking the imposing, robed man in the center of the study for Kinzo, if only for a second. But it wasn't Kinzo. This was Battler, the one who had taken up the position of Game Master, becoming the new territory lord of this world. Around Battler was a swirl of glowing fragments, sparkling like the night sky, and on the floor was what appeared to be a red magic circle. To an outsider, it would seem to be nothing more than an incomprehensible geometric shape. But to Battler, who stood at its center, it was the outline for a new tale. A new line grew across the magic circle, following Battler's gaze. Then, at the instant it connected with a complicated symbol, the entire magic circle flashed brightly. So, how does it look? It is splendid, Master. The 6th game is complete. As Battler wiped his forehead, and finally relaxed, Genji, who was standing behind him and watching over his every move, nodded deeply in response. I always thought being a game master meant you could make the tale however you want. Well, this is seriously harder than I thought. You must write up multiple tales and make the inner and outer sides of the story match. Though truly, you have displayed such skill. It is hard to believe that this is your first time. I believe even Erika-sama will be satisfied with this game. Well, hopefully it matches that great detective's taste. Still, I've got to honestly respect Beato now. I can hardly believe that she managed to make tales that complicated and do it so easily. Easily? Far from it. Beatrice-sama also worried and worried, racking her brain over various contradictions each time she created a tale. She was constantly battling with logic errors. Logic errors? That is when two sides of the tale do not meet, creating a contradiction. When this happens, it becomes a fatal violation of the rules known as the logic error, and the game board will immediately collapse and be destroyed. It is the greatest and worst form of error that the witch side can make, and one which must always be avoided. So, Beato got close to bumping into these many times in her games. She fought with them every time she created a game. I believe it grew even more difficult for her as you became a more formidable opponent. So, do you think this game I've made is good enough to show Beato? Yes, of course. Beato hasn't woken up yet, has she? It's been a while since her body was formed as a personification of the rules. Is she still not awake? After remaining silent for a while longer, Genji answered. She woke up 3 days ago. You were concentrating on the construction of the 6th game, so I decided to wait before telling you. My sincere apologies. Oh, really? Yeah, I'll bet she's still all drowsy after sleeping so long. I really wanted to show her my game. No, it's more than that. I have to show her. I need to tell her that I've understood everything. Battler's face broke into a smile. There was no trace in his expression of the hatred he had once felt towards Beato for murdering his family. In a way, that was the final riddle of the 5th game. Yes. When Battler reached the truth, there was a great change in his impression of Beato. So, should we assume that there really was something between Oni-chan and Beato? And that he forgot all about it? However, Battler suspected this in the 4th game and asked Beato about it. I think this might be an interesting spot to stop. It's hard not knowing the future when to pause the game. And without having, like, chapter blocks other than major ones, it's hard to find a good stopping spot. But I hope I do okay. Anywho, I think that'll be it for today. New Game Master. A new Beato, I guess, as well. And new ways to try and figure this out. Does the chickadee have a profile? Well, we can find out. Cornelia, Juan Miguel, Gap, Goats, and the 7 Sisters. And next? No. Alright. Give me a sec. Maybe it's on Battler's page? Well, he did say forget you saw anything. Yeah, no, it does not look like it. She doesn't exist, apparently. But, I should save. Before anything else, I need to save. Alright. Alright, but yeah, that'll be it for today. Hope you guys had fun. Hope we'll get into some stuff. Yeah, what's today? Thursday. So tomorrow, one more day, and then my weekend. Alright. Oh, yeah. And I'll try and work on the kanji stuff and get that set up. Not overly entirely sure how exactly to implement it seamlessly into the stream, but I'll work it out. I'll figure it out. One way or the other, we'll at least give it a shot. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.